In the days of old, quick history on hymnology, they did not read as we read.
Right, right.
So they sung the faith.
Right.
Yes. Sing it, everybody! Well, when
His word, the living just because.
Singing their faith. When you sing the hymns, you sing the faith. You sing the scriptures.
hold me with a powerful hand. Something says I cannot go.
Lift every voice and sing a hymn, songs and psalms without a voice, hidden treasure, stolen legacy. A voiceless people is a hapless people. Once dubbed and adopted as the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing received its inaugural introduction through the voices of 500 black school children in Florida back in the early 1920s. The song gained great favor with African Americans nationwide and would commonly be sung at public gatherings. Less than 100 years later, one would do well to find within the city of Flint, Michigan, where I now live, 50 school-aged African Americans who can utter even a single verse of this song. The same might well be said for many of our youth in cities throughout America. Many likely do not even know we have a national anthem, one dedicated to our particular sojourn in America. Likewise, there are a growing number of senior African Americans, spectators, participants, survivors, and early beneficiaries of the civil rights era who seem to have forgotten the dignity of the melody and the meaning of the words of this great song. Every February, year after year, when some civic event planner is bold enough or blonde enough to program the song, whether by soloist, small group, or full crowd participation, the song resounds hopelessly worse with each passing year. No sense of spirit or conviction, no sense of connection to or understanding of the text. Most untrained musicians just butcher their way around the playing of the song, while many of those with some modicum of training just mindlessly muscle through a pat and meaningless rendition. I am made to wonder, what are the implications of this great loss of our heritage, our cultural inheritance, our ancestral legacy? How does this kind of spiritual loss and cultural ambivalence mark our society today? I don't know, but perhaps one may only need look as far as the unfortunate catalog of viral videos found on YouTube, Facebook, Vine, and WorldStarHipHop.com for clear and vivid evidence as to the cultural condition of Black Americans today. Were it not for the fact that the song made its way into our hymn books some 40 years ago, and on to the internet some 20 years later, and on to various recordings by polished professionals over the years, the accuracy of lyric and the precise articulation of melody and rhythm would likely be lost to posterity.
There is
A church without hymn. The very same thing could be said of the other great hymns of the church. Many of our children and young people don't know hymns. Many of our untrained musicians don't play them accurately, if at all. There are too many musicians with some level of training who only seem to offer stilted, listless, and uninspired renditions of the hymns. Many of our traditional churches don't sing them very well, and many of our contemporary churches don't sing them at all. Church choirs, soloists, directors, praise and worship leaders, and psalmists all seem to harbor a disdain for hymns because, well, they hardly ever seem to program them for Sunday worship. And if, when they do, they seldom seem to present them with any sense of preparation, polish, or care. When I consider the health and wellness of many local churches today, as it regards the spiritual vitality, cultural legacy, and musical dexterity inherent to higher realms of worship, I'm made to wonder, what is the impact of this great loss of the hymns? What are the implications of this spiritual and musical void in worship? In his scholarly book, Somebody's Calling My Name, the noted scholar, civil rights architect, and much celebrated theologian Wyatt T. Walker convincingly argues that a survey of the musical content of the black religious tradition can serve as an accurate commentary of what was happening to the black community and its response to those conditions. Simply put, what black people are singing religiously will provide a clue as to what is happening to them sociologically. Is it just me, but has anyone else noticed a rising level of the sexualization of gospel music artists, the sensualization of gospel music, and the secularization of church worship services in general? Praise and worship leaders are being reduced to hype men, expounding with exclamations, interjections, and emotionalisms, all in an attempt to increase the audience's, congregations, excitement with call and response chants and Simon says, Simon do, aerobicized gesticulations. Some of our praise dancers' dancing is more so lewd than liturgical. Why, even some of our preachers seem to strive to make it a point to be humorous and funny, to make the people laugh, to pull patir as if doing a stand-up comedy routine at a nightclub somewhere. This is especially true for the ones who don't or can't fall back on their ability to sing. Not to mention their use of phrases like,
"Now that was good enough for me, but now let's give Jesus a hand."
What? Give Jesus a hand? What does Jesus want with your hand? Save but for to hold it, to strengthen it, and to fill it with good things so you may use it in the service of others. God wants our praise to Him and our service to each other. I really don't think God is that interested in our approval and applause. Sorry, I've digressed and have veered off subject. All of that is perhaps fodder for a whole other topic. The point here is, how did such elements of worldliness and carnality creep up into the church and take center stage? I propose that the issue here is worship. Our worship is become weakened. I dare say corporate, congregational, spirit-led worship that is pleasing to God, life-changing to man, and loathsome to the devil is nearly extinct in most American church services today. In many ways, we have become a church without Him, the great I am that I am. And I assert that this is in some part due to our becoming a church without a hymn. A look at contemporary church music. No room for hymns in the inn. Much church music today is performance-oriented, more appropriate for the concert auditorium, a rock concert, iPod, radio, driving in your car, personal worship and edification at home, me-centric, experiential, given to great emotionalism, lateral worship of the inner man, non-vertical in focus, unsingable for the congregation, relies too heavily on the leadership of a soloist, the beat of a drum, or the strumming and thumping of some other instrument. The average churchgoer can recall the tune of a childhood nursery rhyme and the jingle of a popular television commercial more easily than they can the melody of a hymn. In his much celebrated book, Let Mount Zion Rejoice, where he provides an articulate, accurate, and didactical survey of music of the black church post-1980, Dr. W. James Abington writes that the secularization, commercialization, and industrialization of gospel music in the United States since early 1970s has reduced congregational singing to accommodate additional choral selections from the top 40s charts and local radio stations' most requested hits list. This reduction of congregational singing has decreased worshipers' participation in communicative worship, leaving them to become mere spectators. Congregations have become audiences that applaud, react, and reinforce the choir and the minister, who also too often are reduced to performers. Now, try complaining to a serious, studied, and trained preacher.
You quote too many scriptures, always trying to make us say and learn them old Bible verses.
And you are certain to get a rather punctuated response. Now, complain to a serious, studied, and trained church musician or choir director.
You play too many hymns, always trying to make us learn and sing them old hymns.
Well, it's virtually the same thing, and the response is likely to be equally as punctuated. Richard Smallwood shares why he believes hymns still matter. I think hymns are one of the most important genres that we have, and sometimes I get nervous that, with all the praise and worship, which is wonderful, and other newer genres of music, that we forget the hymns. But the hymns are the ones that brought us over, and those hymns, I think, are lyrically some of the most beautiful, theologically sound, and encouraging genres of music we have. When I grew up, I had to learn to play almost every hymn in the hymn book. It was a requirement in order to play for the church. You had to learn how to play everything. And so I'm grateful for the upbringing that I had. And I certainly pray that the hymns will always be there, because some of those hymns, when you get into a valley situation, those hymns will bring you through.